Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to the channel and welcome to a brand new episode of the Definitive Discussion REBOOTED, my series where I bring on phenomenal individuals from throughout gaming, from throughout YouTube, all over the place. We have awesome chats about different types of topics and such. If you guys haven't already, check out some of the previous episodes. I just did one not so long ago with HMK. We talked about Super Smash Bros., Ultimate, the entire series, a whole bunch of stuff. I'm telling you guys, it is probably the best podcast discussion about the Super Smash Bros. Series on the internet. You definitely need to check that out. But today, I got a fun, awesome special guest with me today that we're going to be talking about building up a brand, building up a YouTube channel, building up, your own content. I got Jeff Tarzia with me, aka Smash JT. Jeff, what's good? How you been? What's happening?
What's up, JJ? Thank you so much for having me on, man. This is a pleasure and an honor to be with you here.
Of course, man. It should be fun. So you've been around in gaming for quite a bit. You've been out here in these streets making content and stuff. You obviously have a YouTube channel that's growing. It's getting up there. It's got about 5,400 subscribers, going to 6K, possibly more very soon and stuff. I mean, has the struggle, or at least the process of actually building up a community, getting all these people behind you on a YouTube channel, has that really gotten difficult or more difficult with time, I should say?
Yes and no. I mean, as I relate, I actually spoke to someone on a live stream a little while ago about this, but I originally am from the Boston, Massachusetts area and moved out to San Diego, California about 11 years ago. And the reason why that relates to this is I wouldn't wish my first 6 months of living in San Diego on my worst enemy. And starting a YouTube channel is kind of like that, where
it's rough.
It's rough. I mean, and it only gets harder before it gets better. And there's so many different times where you want to quit, where you just get depressed, you get frustrated, you wonder why some things work, why other ones don't, and it's upside down, it's illogical, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
What was the more difficult, or the most difficult thing that you felt especially starting out, when you're trying to build up the channel and get people to really pay attention to it?
Starting out, I had the complete wrong approach. So anyone who's looking to start a channel, do not do what I did.
Don't do this, people.
Don't try this at home. I wanted to, when I first started YouTube, I was like, I'm going to do this for fun. The whole, what everyone does YouTube for. And then I started making a video and I got so ADD and not ADD, well, yeah, ADD and OCD about making the video as perfect as possible and being all over the place with it. And when the video came out, I thought it was really good. And it filled me with this false sense of security, like, oh my God, I'm good at this. I can do this.
He doesn't know. You weren't ready for the reaction of it. Was it really that bad?
Yeah, well, it was bad. It was real bad. But I only knew that looking back at it now, knowing what I know now. But I mean, you gotta think I came into this never having any proper training on editing, on speaking to a camera, on anything to do with computer technology in this kind of realm. So it was all brand new to me. I didn't know any YouTubers. I didn't know that there was a community of gamers. I didn't know anything about it. It was my passion, and I came into it blind, just wanting to do a channel because it was my passion. And I got this false sense of security when I first started that it was gonna blow up big, and oh my God, I'm gonna post a video and I'm gonna go viral, and what am I gonna do with all my success and all these stupid thoughts. And looking back, it's so
hold up. I don't think it's stupid though. To me, that sounds like it's part of the process, at least from my own experience, from how I've talked with other YouTubers of varying different sizes and stuff. I mean, doesn't everybody really go through that? And that technically should be a good thing.
I hope so, because it makes me feel, misery loves company, and I kind of felt like I was alone on that, but I've never really spoken to people about that specific thing before. And yeah, that's good to hear that I'm not the only one that goes through that, because I mean, even now, the more videos I put out 1 to 2 to sometimes 5 or 6 a week, depending on how I'm feeling and what's going on in the industry at the time. And every time I post a video, I still don't know if it's going to go viral or if it's just going to be my audience that watches it. And it seems to be quite random. on what gets selected.
So that's stress, because that's really is what it is stress. And I'm pretty sure I've gone through that plenty of times. I went through that this morning trying to upload my Kingdom Hearts 2 video, like that, helping people watch it, and then getting that dread of the results afterwards. But it doesn't always work out like that. But does that ever get better with time? Because I feel like in some instances it does, but I think it's really dependent on the type of content you're putting out there, because it's not easy putting content on YouTube, or at least trying to make good content that's going to grab somebody's attention. But I feel like even with high quality stuff, you could be on any size type of outlet, there's always going to still be that level of anxiety, or that level of stress, feeling like, oh, maybe this might not click with the audience, and then you'll be done with it after that.
I think yes, but my experience is learning how I shifted my priorities after realizing that I'm probably not going to make it big, and if I do, it's going to be a long-term thing. It's not going to be an overnight story of success, and that's the good way to do it, because you don't want to skip any steps in the process of growth, because you'll end up in a place where you embarrass yourself.
True.
And as far as what I've found with doing my videos and how I'm creating them and the topics I'm making, I've shifted my priority on what I'm doing and making things that I want to see, and something that I would want my audience to witness. And I guess the best way I can make a example of what I'm saying is, like, when I watch YouTube videos of other people, I typically, like, I'm just, for example, I'm on my elliptical, I'm working out, and I scroll through my subscription feed, and how we all do it, just scrolling through.
Of course, I do the exact same thing, only I don't know if I'm on the elliptical, but I'm doing something.
yeah, exactly. And it's kind of, I had an aha moment when I was scrolling through, and I was like, boring, stupid, crap, what the? And then I just stopped scrolling, and I just kind of looked up at my ceiling, and I'm like, why are people making these videos? These are boring topics. These are things that don't really,
that don't click with you. That's something that just is like so random. Like, because I've had that before. I've had it where I'm looking at people like make content, whether it's about gaming or just like really like other random stuff. I'm like, why is like so many people watching this when I'm out here trying to put high quality content out?
Yeah, well, I think that's more to do with the algorithm and having an established base. But yes,
yeah, true.
I'm more talking to the issue smaller YouTubers have with growth, and how I don't want to say do what I did, because to each their own, and everyone finds their own path to success on YouTube, and that's kind of the special thing about it, is you kind of find yourself while you're doing it, but to a different degree for each person. My point is, like, these small channels are putting out content that it doesn't grab me. It doesn't make me want to watch it. And YouTube's not going to promote that because they're a small channel. They're not going to promote it to people that don't know them, because they're too busy promoting bigger channels that put out crap content. So you need to fill the gap of interesting topics, something that, not necessarily clickbait. Everyone always falls back to saying, oh, you want clickbait. Not clickbait. Something that makes you say, I want to know more about this, because
you got to pique their interest. That's what clickbait is, though. I mean, people take clickbait as such a negative thing. Like, it's been such a warped term, and like so like mismanaged, and the way that it's put out there, I don't necessarily think it really means what it means now.
No, exactly. I guess what I'm saying is, for the actual terminology of clickbait, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's clickbait. But for what clickbait actually means in the modern era, it's not clickbait. It's not. Yeah. It's not a fake title. It's not a fake picture of something. It's not anything like that.
It's not disingenuous.
Exactly. Which is kind of ironic, because then you look at some gigantic channels, and they could literally take a crap and put a picture of it and say, I just got my third divorce, and the video will be about swimming in a pool. Like, they can do whatever. It doesn't, like, nothing makes heads or tails. It doesn't make any sense. And people will watch it because they want to know what this personality is doing next. They're a celebrity, and they want to follow their lives, whatever it is.
like a
But
pseudo celebrity almost at this point.
yeah,
But you know something, I want to ask you something because I feel like, you know, this is a good segue into, you know, another aspect which I feel like is important for growing a channel, growing your content, growing your brand when it comes to interacting with other people on the platform. Because you mentioned obviously watching other YouTubers, watching other content creators and what they do and what they present to the table. I do that all the time. And I think that's a good thing that everybody should do at some point. But where do you feel like sometimes it becomes not only a necessity, but also sometimes could be a hindrance? Because I've been in instances where, you know, collaborating with other YouTubers, trying to have them as guests and stuff, that's a great thing. It's awesome. Like this episode right here. But there also be other instances where maybe that might not be such a good idea or it's had a negative effect on my channel. I mean, have you gone through like those growing pains like that?
Yes, I have. I think, and this is going to not answer your question whatsoever, but take a different approach to it, which is
Yeah.
the growing and learning the community is in the video game area is second to none. That is the most important thing, is learning your surroundings, learning who the content creators are, and engaging with the community and going to videos, talking to them, I mean, it's been said to death, but I mean, it's never going to change. You have to make an impact on them for them to take notice of you.
You got to put yourself out there, at least.
And for me personally, I didn't do that for the first 6 months of my channel because I didn't know. Nobody ever told me. And I'm just like, I'm working really tirelessly. I'm putting all these videos out, effort, everything. They're on par with the quality of bigger channels, at least in my mind they were. And they're getting maybe 8 views, 12 views, 15 views.
Below 50, like really low view count.
Oh yeah. And this is when I had like 120 subs or something like that. And getting to 100 is the biggest milestone you'll ever get to on YouTube when you don't know anybody, because getting people to click subscribe on a no-name channel is really hard to do this day and age.
Straight up.
I mean, it's hard even if you're a known channel to get subscriptions now, because people are already set in their ways with who they're subscribed to. The platform's been around.
That's a very good point. And I want to ask you is like, does that ever feel like it gets demoralizing over time?
No,
because I see a lot of channels, like obviously you see like and hear stories about all these different types of channels gaining thousands of subs like every day or losing thousands of subs every day. And you're like, wow, where are all these people? Like, yo, I could use some of these subs you're losing over here. Like that could get demoralizing a little bit, don't you think?
It depends on how you approach it. I'd be lying if I was straight up saying no. I mean, yeah, there are some moments where you get depressed, you feel frustrated, you wonder how it's not a fair
But how
platform.
do you deal with that though, overall? Like, how do you deal with that?
Honestly, I made a few close friends early on in YouTube when we were small, and I lean on them. I call them. We chat via IM. I lay my frustrations out there, and we basically just have a bitching session about this sucks.
Bitching session.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
that is the best name I've heard all night.
It really is. It's just complaining for about an hour and a half. You get it off your chest.
Is it cathartic? Is it therapeutic?
Oh my God, it is. It is. I mean, you feel awful during it, but you get off the phone and you're like, all right, I'm ready to go make another video now.
That's amazing. Yo, I feel like there'd be a lot less like crazy like beef on YouTube if there was more of that. It sounds like that's the solution.
It is. As long as you handle it appropriately and don't carry the luggage with you after the call or after the message. You have to go into it knowing that you're doing it to get it off your chest, and knowing that it's not just you going through it, knowing for a fact that other people are struggling as much, if not more than you are personally, while they are putting in an equal amount, if not more amount of work in their videos that you are. So it's not just an isolated thing. It's not just me, and it's not just I'm not too familiar with your situation, but it's not just every YouTuber who's super big just gets super big because they make good videos. They all had to struggle to get where they got to, and it was, I'd be lying if I didn't say this, but I've spoken to a lot of the larger channels, and they'll admit openly it was a lot easier to grow your channel 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah, of course.
There was nobody doing it. You couldn't monetize your videos. There was no business in it. It was literally just doing it because you love it.
But based
And
off of that, based off of all that, is that at least a good enough reason, or at least makes something mandatory in order for you to kind of reach out to some of those similar channels or similar creators that are within the same boat in order to collab and kind of just rise up together? Because usually when you hear stories or hear about how you have to collab with other YouTubers or quote unquote bigger channels or whatever else, it's usually just to big yourself up. But isn't it much better though to big everybody up at the same time? And what I mean by big up is like everybody winning at the same time.
I mean, I guess I think the problem that collabs have, as far as like the mentality associated with them, is it's become like a nomenclature for let's collab to grow each of our channels, to share our audiences with each other. But at the end of the day, if you're collabing with a channel, chances are they do similar content to you, and your audience knows both of you already. There are chances, obviously, that they don't if you're small enough. But it's more, at the end of the day, it's weird. I've learned this from doing countless collabs. It's the relationships, and I don't want to sound cheesy, but it's the relationships you build with the person from doing the collab and communicating with them in the future and just sharing stories with them and
the many interactions like over time, not just the one time thing. Because like I've heard stories, and I've even experienced this myself, where I'll kind of do something together with somebody, and it'll be that one interaction, and then like you'll never talk on Twitter, you never get retweets or any of this other stuff. There's nothing beyond that, and I think that's where maybe people get intimidated, but I think also people get very annoyed, especially if you're a larger channel and people want to collab with you so much.
Exactly. Because I look at channels like, are you familiar with GameDave?
Of course, yes.
So you say of course, and I say of course, because his videos are high quality. He strikes me as a good person who knows video games, and he puts a lot of effort into his theme and everything like that. And last I checked, he had like, I don't know, it was like 60,000 subscribers or something.
60K?
Criminally low. And I remember I was watching him when he had like 35K, 40K, and he's growing tragically slow for how good his videos are. And I look at that and I'm like, I'd like to think my videos are on par, at least sometimes, not always, not consistently like his, but I'd like to say from time to time my videos are on par with his. And I'm not growing as fast as I'd like to. But then you see a bigger channel, and I'm looking at him, and he's not growing as fast as I'd like him to. And I'm like, well, damn, if he's big and he's not growing as fast as I'd like him to, I'm sure he thinks the same thing of his own channel, because based off the work and effort he puts into it, and the interactions he has at conventions, and the people he knows, and everything like that.
Do you think though part of that is not just the algorithm with YouTube, but do you think it's also part of the trends? Because I mean, like right now, if you look on the trending page of YouTube, all you see is Fortnite and Ninja, and maybe like one other random thing that just happens to be there. But the majority of it is like the same thing, and this is the thing that the audience is really resonating with. Do you think part of that also is that it's a choice not to kind of follow those trends? So in that sense, you're not growing at that exponential pace. Like at that point, is it really come down to the choice of the creator to kind of like decide what type of success or how fast they want that type of success?
Yes, and I don't mean to turn this podcast into a GameDave podcast, but he's started to do that with his content. He's started to talk about trending topics now, and I was fascinated at first. I was like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like, this isn't what he does, but I don't want to speak for him.
But is that part of like for business, or is that for relevancy? Because when I say business, I'm talking about money, I'm talking about subscriber numbers and stuff, but relevancy is like, the constant growing in subscribers, the constant sharing on social media and stuff. Like, which do you think really is that dictated by?
I think it's one and the same at the end of the day. Like, you can't have one without the other, unless you're doing it strictly for fun. But let's be real, that kind of went out the door.
The majority of people don't do it just for fun. They want to get paid. They want that bag. It's okay.
Exactly. Like, I mean, maybe back when YouTube was first getting started, people were doing it for fun, but they also weren't putting in the time into the edits because it wasn't competitive. You could literally just turn your camera on and just talk and have a bunch of ums and ahs and have a 14-minute video of you picking your nose, and people would be like, "Oh my God, this is him picking his nose."
This is quality content. This is quality content.
It's funny. He picked his nose and he looked at it like that kind of stuff. That was all the rage when YouTube first got started. And since money got introduced You see companies starting to pay employees to create content to grow. You see people coming into the game to grow, and you see people creating content just in general to grow. And ultimately, in the end of the day, it's for the almighty dollar. They want to make the money, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I really don't, because I think it's improved the content quality dramatically. I think YouTube's a much better place right now than it was 10 years ago, as much as people might disagree with that. I think it's a better place. It might be harder to find what you'd like to see because it's so focused on pushing trending topics, but you still can find what you want because there's just so much of it
and
there.
stand out with what you want to.
Yeah,
like you can now, I want to ask this because I think we should acknowledge it because it's very important. Speaking of money, speaking of relevancy and stuff, how does one not get caught up into, like, you know, which is like the crazy thing that everybody kind of associates with that type of side of YouTube, which is really the drama, the controversy, because obviously trending topics usually relates to news, usually relates to controversy, especially now these days. I want to say within the last like 5 to 6 years of YouTube, that has been a thing for a lot of people. And again, you see this in a variety of different channels that are out there, the drama alerts and all the other types of like commentary channels that usually get caught up within that scene. How does one kind of avoid that? Because I don't think that everybody really wants to get caught up in stuff like that, even though there are people that do. But for people like me and probably others listening to this, how does one actively avoid that and still try to maintain, or at least try to still achieve that same level of relevancy to grow your channel, to grow your audience, to grow your brand?
I'd say the easiest way is to be honest with your audience. And I know I keep hammering this home in my videos. I've spoken to people on my recent video about the Philip Mewson situation. I've spoken to people about my own personal screw-ups. I mean, you need to, it all comes back to just being honest with the audience. And if you're going to talk about drama if you want, but because it matters to you. And not don't create a video about drama just to do drama.
Don't be a clout chaser, basically.
Yeah, because people see right through that. People are not stupid. Like, and that's one thing that I learned when I first started doing YouTube is I just felt like I could influence people and I could do what I wanted and people would listen to me and it's like I couldn't be further from the truth when I first started. And I realized that as dumb as some situations you might see on the internet show or the people of Walmart and stuff like that, I mean, people outside of those, I'll call them islands, overall, the vast majority of the population, I don't think gets enough credit for being at least smart enough to see through
you know what I think it is too? I think also people don't seem to really kind of grasp the full understanding that the internet is like a conglomerate of people. It's a conglomerate of minds. The internet is not stupid, and the internet is not like sometimes can be vindictive. I think that it could also have the potential for great good. I think we just get so caught up on the negative stuff because that's what's thrust in our face. Like obviously you mentioned the Philip Mewson thing with the IGN plagiarism. That obviously has been the biggest news as of late, you know, at the time we're recording this episode of the show. But like, you know, you hear about stories about hate mobs, about people throwing harassment and vicious, visceral type of stuff on social media and stuff. And that's what you hear the bulk of the time. But I think that also on the flip side of that, even just, you know, relating it back to just, you know, building up on YouTube and stuff, the internet could really make somebody big time very quickly. Like ridiculously quickly.
Look at Boomstick Gaming. I mean, he's at
on the flip side of that,
he's at like 80,000 subs and growing. Like, and he was at 11K at the beginning of the week. He's got 70.
I think there was other factors with that, but even getting away from like a controversial thing, like, you know, I'm pretty sure there's stories of just somebody that just put out like a random song that they sung or like a random piece of content that they made on their own, and all of a sudden the internet saw this and turned them into a superstar.
Oh hell yeah! Look at the guy who sings "Chocolate Rain." Like he created his entire brand.
Days on Day. That's true.
His entire brand is based off of that song, and that was like 11 years ago, and that's the one thing that he did, and it blew up. But that's also like making going to the liquor store and buying a lottery ticket and hitting Powerball,
becoming a millionaire. Like that.
It's like it's not going to happen to you. Like if you're looking to start a YouTube channel, being a one-hit wonder and growing like that, it's not going to happen. Like. Chances are you have better luck getting hit by lightning.
That shouldn't be the goal. That shouldn't be the motivation or the means, right?
Right. That shouldn't even enter your mind. Like if it happens, deal with it. Like don't be like, oh, this is a possibility. It's not a possibility.
So
like,
here's a good thing. Here's a good thing though that you made me think of this great point. That's a good segue. How does one, feel about like, okay, when somebody blows up like that, when you're getting thousands upon thousands, probably tens if not hundreds of thousands of subs at that point, and now you're officially that big channel, you're officially a big channel, you're rolling with the big dogs at that point, where does one feel like how, you know, there's a variety of different larger channels out there where one feels like, okay, people are utilizing that popularity or that fame, that notoriety in good hands or in bad hands? Because I think that the majority of people now, especially within the last couple of years that have been blowing up like that, you're seeing a lot of people that are using that notoriety or getting that type of notoriety and don't have the means to really use it for good, or at least use it in a way that like isn't always showing up on TMZ or showing up on Drama Alert and stuff. Like, you know, it gets very complicated at that point. But where do you feel like that? Do you feel like there's too much of a majority of people that are just falling into that type of category, or is there still a majority of like really good channels that have that following like that and are still using it for good stuff?
They're still using it for good stuff, and I encountered that personally when I had a misstep on my channel a few weeks ago, and it goes back to how I handled the situation, and I could have handled it better, and it kind of blew up, and I've moved my channel past the situation, so I'm not going to speak too much about that, but I will say when the situation happened, there were a lot of very large YouTubers that came to me personally via social media, contacted me directly. For
the first time, or just out of nowhere?
No. I've had previous conversations with them in the past, but there were a few. There were a few for first time. Basically, it was just a gigantic mob of people, very influential people, all coming to me at once, saying, What the F are you doing, dude? Take that video down. That's not a good idea.
They checked you real hard.
They checked me, and I'll tell you, my what do you say?
Damn, you got checked that hard? You got to start again the words.
No, I'm trying to think of the word.
Checking was that hard?
Well, it was. No, it was. It was basically my personality was too big, and I was like, oh, these guys are just jealous of me and they don't want me to get big, and they're protecting their own and all this other stuff, which a part of that may be true, may not be, but I kind of had a realization after speaking to one of them specifically, saying it's not a good look, and I need to take a video down, a specific video that I was calling another YouTuber out on, because I didn't go about it the right way. And the right way
it wasn't putting positive stuff out there, or at least wasn't trying to give positive stuff to your audience.
100%. It was feeding negativity, and I made the video and posted it for all the wrong reasons. I was fired up, I was frustrated. I had a similar situation where I felt wronged, like Boomstick Gaming had, and I put it out there, and it was not received by the community well whatsoever. And
now, do you feel like when some channels or some creators do that, because there's a lot of them that are out there that do that, and whether they have it as positive or negative, they still kind of keep on with that same energy, and that's what helps grow their brand and stuff. Do you think that sometimes maybe that's necessary, or do you think that's always a destructive thing?
I think it's always a destructive thing. I mean, I used to think negativity could grow a channel, and I think that's the exception to the rule more than the rule. I think people see it happen, and then people think, oh, negativity, he got big because of negativity. He got big because he talked about drama. Like, people always think Keemstar.
Or Leafy. Leafy's here is like the perfect
example. I was just going to say, yeah, Leafy's here or Keemstar. And it's like, yeah, you just named two people. Name more.
There's a lot more that are out there. But I
mean, no, I know. But I'm saying there's a lot more. The vast majority of channels out there don't focus on drama to grow, because that's not what the audience wants. At the end of the day, you got to play to your audience, and more importantly, you have to be true to yourself. And I didn't feel right because I wasn't playing to my audience, and even more importantly, I felt like I wasn't being true to myself on why I was even doing this YouTube thing when I posted that video. And I was like, I got to take this down because it doesn't feel right. Even though I still hold on to I was wronged and there was no justification in it, I just had to be the bigger man and be like, you know what, I need to handle the situation a different way, a better way. And I learned that day that the large community of, I can only speak to video game YouTubers because I'm not familiar too much outside of, Boogie and PewDiePie and Philip DeFranco. I don't really know any of the other big ones. outside the gaming community. The gaming community, it's so small. It's so small. Like every single big channel, if you get over 120, 130, hell, if you get over 100,000 subscribers, every single channel who's big is going to know you. Every single one. Like, there might be a few outliers, but those are the exception to the rule.
True.
And that's
I guess that's a good point. That's an interesting point. I mean, again, as you start to grow, I think a lot of those things start to change. But I want to ask one final thing, and this would be a good way to kind of cap everything off and such. After growing a brand or staying with it for so long, what's the next step? Because I know some people think that they're going to do YouTube forever, and I don't think that the platform is really at a point where that is sustainable. Granted, there's some people that have made it work, but there's been other outside factors and stuff. For someone that's on YouTube now, that's growing up a channel, growing up a brand, and trying to do something with it, what's the next step after that? Where do you want to go with it afterwards? Or where do you think people should go with it afterwards?
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. At this point, YouTube is not an end game. It's not a career choice outside of a few select individuals. It's just not feasible. So for each person, follow their dreams and do what they love and do what they want. And for me personally, I want to work in the video game industry. I'm at a point in my life right now where I really am strapped to my house because I have 2 young children and my wife works full-time as a RN. So I'm a stay-at-home dad, so YouTube works for me right now,
Yeah.
But as my kids get older and grow and are more self-sustainable and don't need to pay for a babysitter all the time and things like that, I fully intend to do something more than just YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I want to specifically stay in the video game industry and do something similar to what I'm doing right now. I have a background in writing. I have a background in working in the game industry. So I'd like to do something with that.
Do you think people should do something like that, or at least, have that same type of mindset though? Because it seems like the majority of people, especially younger people, don't. Like they're very one-tracked right now, or at least they're not thinking the long game.
It's true. And I think that'll come in time. I think we all felt like that at one point in our lives. I don't think it's
I don't think it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, because I feel like in some regards it's going to be a bad thing, because whenever YouTube changes something, like everybody panics, like everybody loses it.
I kind of think of it as a good thing, because if you're not committed to doing this for the right reasons, it's going to shake you out of it anyways.
Good point. Good idea right there and stuff.
So that's what I keep going back to every time I talk to my buddies about my frustrations and when I want to quit. And we all have those moments. Don't think you're alone, even though you didn't say it, I'm sure. If you didn't have the feeling yet, you will someday, of wanting to quit, wanting to stop, because you put so much effort, so much work, and you don't see it really going where you expect it to go. It's almost like a game within the game. It's you against you, and at some point you have to realize, is it the algorithm or is it you? Are you good enough to survive in this environment? Yes or no? And you need to be honest with yourself. And that's something that I'm working on myself personally.
I like it. That's good. Some good food for thought right there. I think more people need to think like that. And I think that more people, at least not think about it all the time, but to be conscious of that, because I think it's important, especially as you grow with a brand, or at least you're looking to grow a brand, looking to grow a channel, looking to grow content, and looking to grow your audience. I think everybody, myself included, at least has to have that somewhere in their mindset and stuff.
Be real. Just be real with yourself and be honest with yourself. And if you're doing YouTube, be honest with yourself and be honest with your audience. Hold transparency and let them get to know who you are, and make sure you're a likable person, because nobody wants to subscribe to someone who's not likable. And as obvious as that may sound, I had to learn that. And I'm a very nice person. I'm a very likable person, but I didn't actually think I had to use that to my advantage. I didn't think people cared about that, and they do. Yeah,
very, very true. Jeff, thank you so much for chatting up all this stuff with me. I think that a lot of people are going to get some good food for thought out of this episode, like always, which is what I want, which is great. But we won't know until they let us know in the comment section down below and stuff. So hopefully you guys are listening to this now. Leave me a comment. Leave me some thoughts of what you guys thought about all the things that we touched on this episode with Jeff. Where can everybody find you? What are you up to? What's really good? Where are you at on social media?
Man, I am everywhere. Smash JT has own website, www.smashjt.com. YouTube.com/SmashJT, Facebook.com/SmashXJT, Twitter.com/SmashJT. I'm everywhere. You type Google, you type SmashJT, you'll find me.
That's a whole lot of Smash JT. There's a whole lot of Smash there. I feel like you're a Smash Brothers fan. I'm just saying.
I love Smash Brothers, but what we didn't even get into with this episode is my name and how I got the name of it, and I'll tell you a quick story before we go.
Yeah,
my first game I ever tested as a QA tester at Sony Online Entertainment was called Cash Guns Chaos, and it was a top-down shoot 'em up that was similar to Robotron and Smash TV, and that's where I got the idea to do.
So you combine the names.
I combined the name. I did Smash and then my initials JT as my channel because I wanted to build off of that and have a brand where I had some personality from my own experiences mixed in with it.
That's cool. That's dope. But yeah, there'll be links in the description box below, guys, so you guys can go check out all that stuff that Jeff just mentioned right now. Again, Jeff, thank you so much for being a guest with me on this episode. Guys, let me know what's up in the comments down below. Tell me what you guys thought about this entire episode. And also, keep sending me suggestions of who you guys want me to get onto the show and what topics you guys want to hear us talk about here on Definitive Discussion Rebooted. But don't forget to leave a like on this video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you guys can. I appreciate all the love and support. Again, I'm always uploading every single week, and I'm going to have more cool reviews, more cool vlogs, and more cool episodes of Definitive Discussion Rebooted as we go along. But with that being said, we will talk to you again very soon. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.